Chapter 36. Hidden Mist Recovery. Part 3. The docking was the easy part. Well, docking might not be the most apt description. Because the shinobi team all headed off toward the inlet, the ship actually stopped some distance from the shore and they ran over the water to get to land. This way, at least they ensure that the crew will have time to react in case any enemy slips past. The crew, while not shinobi, are still competent combatants, and Awaji is a trained shinobi. Retired, but trained. Then there's the kids, who might be strong enough, but if the enemies have curse marks, there's no way they'd be a match. The plan is simple: go in and take them out. Teen Chijuro is currently running through the trees making their way toward the inlet, where Hinata saw the group had docked. They haven't moved much since, with some group venturing inward and others returning. Hinata has her Byakugan trained on them. They seem to have set up a base at the inlet. They seem to be looking for someone. He's not there either. They say. Chijuro raises a brow. How do you know? The Byakugan only gives the user a visual, correct? Oh, I can read lips. She explains. I can't pick everything up, but I can manage well enough here. That's certainly a handy skill to have at your disposal. Kiri compliments. Then I better watch what I mutter under my breath, huh? Naruto laughs. Alright, keep us posted on any changes, then. See if they give anything more on this he they're looking for. Chijuro orders. Hinata nods, right. And continues to keep her eyes focused on the curse mark holders, observing their movements. Two of them are sitting under a large tent and appear to be the leaders, or at the very least the ones everyone reports to once they return. Some of them keep watch around the perimeter they've set up, while one is sitting on the ground, hands in front of his torso, in the ram hand sign. As the Mist Leaf group approaches, the curse that's been sitting the entire time whips his head exactly in their direction. For a brief moment, it feels to Hinata as if he looked directly at her. Intruders coming fast, she sees him mouth to the others as they already begin to prepare. They've spotted us. Hinata calls out. They know we're coming. Damn it. Chijuro curses. Was that one guy a censor? No, Hinata shakes her head. He definitely wasn't using sensory abilities, I could tell that much. She continues observing them. He doesn't have our exact number, but he estimates there's 3 or 4 of us. He has an estimate of how far away we are. What do we do, Captain? Kiri turns to his superior. They don't know that we know. We can use that to our advantage. Whatever ability that man used, it's apparently not perfect. They don't know our numbers, most likely don't know our chakras. I could just rush them. Naruto chimes in. Kick him down before they even know what hit him. While I do support brute force, I believe there's another option for now. We can save the rushing for stage 2. Chijuro then turns to Hinata. You can see with your Byakugan through anything, correct? Cover it with your headband so they're not alerted by it when they come to intercept. How do you know they will? Naruto asks. They will. Just as predicted, 3 cursed make their way towards them, having been informed of the intruder's location. They move quickly and silently, showing themselves as competent, if nothing else. The entire time, Hinata observes them and conveys their movement. They seem to have no idea who they're approaching. The cursed hide among the trees and bushes. They may be hidden from the naked eye, but the Byakugan is anything but. Their group approaches the ambush, fully aware of it and ready to pounce. They move closer. And closer. Hiramekare, release. Chijuro's sword ignites with chakra, ripping the wrappings off. He grabs the 2 handles with each hand and swings at a tree, sending a sickle of chakra flying, slashing the flora in half. The man hiding behind it falls dead in a single hit. Naruto and Hinata break off on the opposite side, where the other 2 are hiding. Hearing the commotion, they scramble to go on the offensive. Shit, what the fuck happened? One of them screams out as half of his body becomes covered in black lines, the clear signs of a curse mark. Doesn't matter, just kill him. The other's body goes through the same change, save for the differing pattern. Just as they go to swing, their enemies disappear from sight. Huh? They both look around, and just barely from the corner of their eyes, do they see 2 figures standing behind them. Naruto and Hinata gather their chakra around their hands, ready to unleash their jutsu. Gentle step, lion fist. Purple chakra surrounds Hinata's hand, taking on the shape of a lion, flaring with all the ferocity of one. She hits her mark directly on the back, sending the lion to engulf him entirely, burning his chakra pathway. Massive Rasengan. The large ball of spiraling chakra demolishes everything around it, ripping into the trees, the ground, but most importantly its target. The Rasengan hits him square in the back, and the force twists and contorts his body on the outside, and the less is known about his insides, the better. Both of them fall dead to the ground. Hinata immediately focuses her Byakugan back to the inlet. They're aware they were taken down, but uncertain as to what their status is. Is it based on smell or something? Can they sense our footsteps? Chijiro grunts. In the end, I suppose it doesn't matter. Naruto. He calls out to the blonde. Now we charge in. Naruto smirks. The cursed scramble about their makeshift headquarters, preparing for battle. So what can you even tell us? One of the supposed leaders shouts at the pseudo-censor. I already told you everything I know. I heard him get taken down, but I dunno if they're alive or not. The pseudo-censor protests. What the fuck good is your heightened hearing if you can't even tell us something that basic? The other man raises his voice. As they argue, the sound of crashing trees cools down their tempers. As they quiet down to try and understand what they heard, a gigantic figure jumps out from the cliffside above the inlet. A translucent orange fox, 9 tails flowing behind it, comes flying right at them. What the fuck? They exclaim in both confusion and fear. The orange fox disappears, leaving in its place 3 figures to come flying down toward them. Naruto in Sage mode, Hinata with her Byakugan active, and Chijiro with Hiramekure out rush into the confusion. You useless moron. The leader pushes aside the man he was just arguing with and activates his curse mark. They all do. Patterns of differing designs cover either the left or right side of their bodies, power surging through their bodies. Naruto immediately recognizes the power as natural energy, except twisted. It's not being gathered as much as it's being violently ripped. It's obvious to him these people aren't aware of the power they wield. Naruto POV. Naruto's first target is the one who saw them coming earlier. Unfortunately for the cursed, he got too distracted by the argument and didn't focus his chakra. That was his first mistake. It allowed Naruto to use Kurama's avatar to sprint to the inlet in a matter of seconds. The cursed swings, but Naruto dodges up, using the fist that was coming toward him as a spring. It's an odd sensation. Sage mode allows him to better react to his opponents, having an innate understanding of how and when they'll move by reading the air around them. This guy's a bit different. It might be because he can sense a diluted, almost corrupted, natural energy from their curse marks that doesn't allow him to read them properly. Naruto flips over and grabs onto the man's shoulder. Got good ears, huh? Then listen to this. Naruto breathes in and lets out a low rumbling sound, guttural and from the throat. The rumble becomes louder and very much sounds like a toad's croaking. Sage art, frog call. The sound hits the man right in the ears, enhanced by whatever ability he possesses. The man screams in pain and falls to his knees, clutching his ears as blood drips between his fingers. After a moment, he faints, and Naruto turns to face the other cursed coming toward him. The flesh on his forearms has extended into sharpened blades, taking on a very metallic appearance. Like a whirling dervish, he swings his arms, a sharp sound filling the area as his literal arm blades cut through the air. Naruto takes a stance with his frog kata and pushes away his attacks, either striking at the attacker's arms with his palms or blocking with his arm guards, which bend slightly under the pressure. Naruto tries to get some distance between them, but the cursed keeps close. He tries to gather chakra in his palm to form a Rasengan, but the curse doesn't give him enough time to focus. Eventually, he manages to get a second away. Just like before, he breathes in and his voice rumbles. Recognizing the noise, the curse jumps back and covers his ears. As if I'd fall for that. Fighting tongue slash. Where the man expected a croaking sound to pierce his ear, when Naruto opens his mouth something else comes out instead. There isn't even time to see it, it's so far. As he racks his brain to try and figure out what the leaf ninja did, he feels a pain in his shoulder. He looks down to see it completely severed, and the pain only now hits him. Naruto reels back his tongue, much longer and thicker than normal, enhanced by his own natural energy. The tongue slash is a tricky one to pull off, and one can easily hurt themselves doing it, but it's also probably his fastest attack in his arsenal. Now, it allowed him to stop a fairly speedy enemy in his tracks, but not fully put him out for the count. Naruto flickers closer to the man clutching his shoulder that's still hanging on after being cut by the tongue, but just barely. Naruto delivers a hit to the head, knocking him out. Hinata POV. Hinata wastes no time in flickering right in front of one of the cursed. He tries to grab her head in his massive paws, but she expertly twirls out of his way. He tries to grab her hair which lashes out behind her, but in a trained move, she whips her head to pull her hair out of the way. He grasps at air. Hinata ducks under his arm. 2 palms. She strikes at his heart and stomach. 4 palms. Another 2 hits on his shoulders. 8 palms. She dances in front of him, keeping an elegant footing, even as she pushes him back with each successful hit. 16 palms. Her arms are barely visible, they move at such great speeds. 32 palms. The whirls around her target, just in time to dodge several thorn-like projectiles that were aimed at her. Her second assailant jumps, where she was just now, thorns regrowing on her back like a hedgehog, but Hinata's shifted her position again, all the while continuing to strike at her first foe's chakra points. 8 trigrams, 64 palms. Hinata sends her first target flying through the air after delivering a blinding series of lightning-fast blows. He goes crashing into the hedgehog woman who's blown back with her unconscious companion weighing down on her. She pushes the dead weight off of her and tries to get back up, but a violet blur is already on her. She swings her arm with the force of a cannon, but Hinata ducks and deflects with her gentle fist. The Hyuga thrust her other hand to the woman's head, sending a pulse of chakra through her brain. Gentle fist, palm bottom. The woman falls on the ground for good this time. Chijuro POV. Chijuro unleashes Hiramekare's hammer form, crashing at his foe. By far the largest of the cursed present, built like a brick outhouse and arms the size of cannons, he plants his feet in the ground and tanks the hit. Just barely. The hammer strikes him in the chest, but he manages to reach over to grab Hiramekare's blade and hold on through the pain. You're gonna need a lot more than that. The cursed wheezes, blood spurting from his mouth. You don't sound very convincing. Chijuro retorts. A second attack approaches behind him, her belly and throat glowing hot red, her cheeks puffed out. The woman breathes fires onto Chijuro. He has nowhere to go. His blade is in the clutches of his enemy. Or so they think. Chijuro separates his 2 blades, leaving only one of the twinsword Hiramekare behind. He spins around, going behind the large man, and with an enhanced blade slashes across his back, leaving behind a large gash. The cursed cries out in pain and is propelled forward from the attack, right into the flames. He quickly catches on fire and tries to put it out, but another slash in the back sends him to the ground. Boss. The fire-breathing woman cries out, watching it happen before either of them could react. Seething with anger, she prepares to breath fire at Chijuro again. Unshaken, the swordsman channels his chakra through his sword. With a powerful swing, he sends multiple rod-like projectiles made of chakra hurtling right for her. Bloody mist sword art, bone mutilation. The projectiles ember in her body and into her chakra pathway. The alien presence makes her chakra act, the fire still inside her runs wild with her having lost control. She cries out, and the fire burns her from the inside. The 3 of them regroup having finished their respective battles. Chijuro still looks on alert. Anyone else around? Hinata shakes her head. No more cursed, just the pry, sonar. She trails off when she checks up on the man in the ship. Last she checked, he was tied up and unconscious, and yet, the prisoner steps out on the front of the ship. You wasted 2 days of my time, Chijuro. They all look up to see a man, as Hinata described visibly in his late 20s to early 30s, bald with the side of his head, down past his ear, burnt. He's dressed only in some shabby rags that hang far too loosely off him. Chijuro squints. Saizo? You know this guy? Naruto asks. Saizo flickers down next to them, rolling his shoulder and cracking his neck. What are you doing here, kid? He then looks over Naruto and Hinata. And who are these guys? Right. He first decides to introduce his colleague. This is Saizo Kairen, he's currently the only other ninja swordsman of the mist. He then introduces his current team. And these are Naruto Uzumaki and Hinata Hyuga of the Hidden Leaf. We're on a mission together to reach the Hidden Whirlpool Village. Yeah, think I heard something about that. Right, I remember now. You're the big war hero. Yeah, that's me. So how'd you get captured by these guys, anyway? Naruto looks back to the bodies laying on the floor. Didn't think they'd manage to nab a swordsman of the mist. They didn't. Saizo is quick to correct a misunderstanding. I let them capture me, cause I wasn't getting any good intel otherwise. Knew they've been looking for some source of power, but couldn't find out what. A source of power, huh? Is it because they couldn't fully use their curse mark? Naruto scratches his chin. What do you mean, Didn't they use it? Chijiro turns to him. I mean, they kinda did, but that's not the full extent of it. If you can really use it, then your body goes through these really weird changes and you become way stronger than before. I've fought some who can use it properly, and honestly these guys can't even hold a candle. So they were super weaklings? Saizo clicks his tongue. Here I had my hopes up for them. More or less. Honestly, we were lucky they couldn't use it. It's really nasty. What power could they hope to find on this random island? Chijiro crosses his arms. There should be nothing here as far as I'm aware. Maybe Orochimaru has a secret lab out here? Saizo stretches his arm, trying to get a bit more feeling back into it. He's managed to slither his way into a lot of places, and the Land of Water's a good place to do it. We can't very well keep an eye on every damn little island. But why did they even need a prisoner in the first place? Hinata questions. How does a prisoner factor into them gaining more power? Think they wanted someone to send out as a lure whenever they found what they were looking for. Saizo shrugs. Worked well enough for my purposes until someone ruined my plans. Who did that? Naruto cocks his head. Oh, wait, that's us. Yeah, that's you. At this point, Kiri comes walking out the woods, having heard the commotion is over to look over any potential injuries. Ah. He stares at the new figure. Lord Saizo. You're here, and you're hurt. The medic walks over and immediately begins treatment. Saizo has a few injuries across his body from his 2-stay stint as prisoner which Kiri does his best to mend, although rest will be needed to finish the process. While here, Chijiro's team looks around the makeshift camp and the ship for anything useful. They do indeed find a crudely drawn map of the island and certain locations crossed off. Hinata notices that she observed through her Byakugan groups of 2 or 3 returning from those directions. They're scanning the area and have finished about 2 of 3 of it. Meaning that whatever they're looking for, if it's here, might be in the final 1 of 3 that they'd yet to explore. Chijiro gathers the group together. We can finish their search, at the very least. If something is going on, we need to know about it. Let's not forget, Saizo stands himself up to the protest of the medic, that this is my mission and I was on the right track until you showed up. Then we can just work together, can't we? Naruto looks between them. Now that we're here, anyway, we have no reason not to. Saizo snatches the map from Chijiro's hands and turns to the ship. Just don't get in my way. He disappears for a few minutes and returns fully clothed. In place of the rags, he now wears his Hidden Mist uniform. A long-sleeved striped shirt under his flak jacket and a pair of black trousers with white wrist warmers that reach below his elbow and leg warmers. For the most part, the ninja swordsmen of the Mist of old wore similar attire, and being raised in that period, he emulates their style. His bald head is now covered by bandages that also loosely wrap around his head. The bandages also cover the left side of his head, hiding the burn marks, and he wears his forehead protector as a bandana around the bandages. By far the grandest addition to his wardrobe is the large blade by his side. The hilt goes up to what looks like a scroll case, with 2 blades from its sides. One blade is much shorter, while the longer side is covered in explosion tags. They don't call Shibuki the blast sword for nothing. Let's go. Saizo. The group of now 5 make their way further into the island, following the map they found in camp. Hinata continues to use her Byakugan to seek out anything out of the ordinary that may have been of interest to people once under the rule of Orochimaru, but nothing catches her eye in these early stages of their search. Even though the Byakugan can see afar, it still has a limit to its range, and they at the very least need to move forward to increase its scanning area. What even drew you to this island? Saizo asks. Said you were going to the hidden whirlpool, didn't you? We were, but Hinata saw an unauthorized ship docked here, filled with people possessing Orochimaru's curse mark, so we came to investigate. I apologize. Hinata says meekly. I saw they had a captive, but I was not aware you were one of the ninja swordsmen. I didn't properly describe you to our captain. Had I done so properly, we might not have ruined your operation. Yeah, maybe you should have thought of that. Hey, man, we had no way of knowing who you were, alright? Naruto jumps. Usually doesn't matter what the hostage looks like, so why describe it? I can list you plenty of factors that make descriptions important. I suppose the Leaf's education is lacking. You trying to start something? Naruto glares. Alright, that's enough. Chijiro breaks it up. We have a task to focus on. Assuming they can focus on it. Saizo mutters under his breath. Naruto evens his pace to Hinata's, who looks dejected at her costly mistake. Hey, don't listen to that guy, alright? We'll put things in order. Yeah. She gives him a light smile, more out of courtesy than anything. The group continues their search before something happens about 20 minutes in. Suddenly, a terrible sensation comes over Naruto. He feels sick, on the verge of throwing up, despite not having any problems at all. He stops on a branch and props himself up on the tree, taking a moment to catch his breath. He begins to feel dizzy, but shakes it off to some extent. Naruto? Hinata runs to his side. What's the matter? Chijuro, Saizo, and Kiri go to him, as well. I don't know, I just don't feel too good all of a sudden. He tries to catch his breath. I feel like I'm gonna be sick. Were you hit by something? Chijuro looks around, almost expecting some sort of ambush. No, at the very least Hinata would have noticed something. Kiri goes up to him, hand surrounded by chakra, and inspects Naruto, first palming his forehead, then checking his pulse, his eyes. I don't see anything out of the ordinary. You're not poisoned or anything. You should be as fit as a fiddle. Sure don't feel like it. Naruto tries to laugh. Is it an enemy jutsu? But how would they affect only you, and why only you of a team of 5? Saizo crosses his arms. Hinata stares at Saizo, processing his words. Calculating. Saizo uncomfortably looks back at her. What? Naruto, is it natural energy? She asks. Natural energy? Lem check. Naruto sits down in a meditative state and gathers whatever natural energy he can. He can already tell that Hinata's hunch is right. Something is terribly wrong here, but he wasn't able to fully pick up on it without being in sage mode. When he opens his eyes, the sensation is somehow worse. If the curse mark felt unpleasant, then this is putrid. He felt natural energy being disturbed by those guys, but this is on a whole other level. Natural energy is being sucked into a single point, and he knows exactly where it is, and he might also know who it is. Naruto points south-southwest. He's over there. Who is? Saizo asks. Naruto looks to the two swordsmen. Please, could you leave this to me? They both look puzzled at Naruto's request and share a contemplative look. About 2 kilometers from their spot, Naruto leads them to a deep cave within a cliffside. It's somewhat well hidden, the only entrance being just barely wide enough to let them squeeze in, and from most angles it doesn't even look like an entrance to anything. However, this is where Naruto sensed the natural energy being ripped to. Naruto leads the group, with Chijuro and Saizo following in close behind him, followed by Hinata and Kiri manning the rear. As they get closer, they hear loud guttural yells. Almost animalistic in nature, but the odd sound makes it clear this is, in fact, a person. Someone in excruciating pain by the looks of it. The closer they get, the more the yells echo through the cavern. This is a terrible idea, Chijuro. Saizo whispers in between the yells, so he can be heard. If Naruto says to leave it to him, we can trust his judgment. If this is about natural energy, he's the expert here. Naruto slowly and carefully walks into a large open cavern where the pained cries are coming from, with the rest of the group taking cover. Hinata has her Byakugan trained to make sure things are going well. In the room, Naruto sees a man thrashing around on the ground. His skin like earth in both color and texture, his body is anything but human. His forearms are enlarged, much thicker than his biceps, with a sharp spike extending past the elbow. On his back are lined protrusions that almost resemble stalagmites in rows on his left and right side. His forehead is deformed into what resembles horns. The only thing left from his human side is his orange hair. You're Jugo, right? Jugo whips his head on hearing someone approach. He'd been so absorbed in his thrashing that he never saw or sensed Naruto until now. You, he growls. Kill. No killing. I'm here to help. I just need you to stop what you're doing, alright? Naruto extends his hand and begins inching his way closer. I'll come to you, alright? Behind, Saizo grips Shibuki's hilt. Damn it was that guy? But why is Jugo here? He's supposed to be imprisoned in the land of iron. Hinata asks. Chijuro shakes his head. He was, but when we transferred Sugetsu Hazuki, he managed to escape. Been in hiding ever since. To think he was out here, Jugo's voice grabs their attention. Kill you. Maim you. Slaughter you. Crush you. He yells out each word louder and louder. I feel like those are more or less the same thing, but okay. HRMM, what do I gotta to make this work? Work with me, buddy. Die. A blue light flashes at Jugo's soles, and he's instantly propelled at a great speed toward. Jugo cries out and swings at Naruto, who manages to just barely duck out of the way. The wind pressure alone is almost enough to blow him back. Jugo swirls around mid-air and comes crashing to a halt in the stone wall. Before Jugo can move again, a cloth writhes its way into the room, covered in explosive tags. It snakes its way toward him and releases a series of localized blasts. Not enough to damage the structure, thankfully, but a normal person will still feel it. Jugo, however, is not normal. Saizo enters the cavern, pulling back the cloth to wrap itself around the wider of the two blades as new explosive tags are dispensed from the scroll. Chijuro making his way behind, both her Mekare swords out. Saizo, we were to wait. Wait. For this. Saizo does not hide his anger. That's Jugo of the fucking scales. The so-called hero let us into a closed space with that monster, where I can't even use Shibuki to its fullest. Jugo interrupts the argument by propelling himself again, this time aimed at Saizo. Chijuro puts himself in front and blocks by crossing both his swords as a makeshift shield. Jugo impacts with tremendous force, causing Chijuro to skid back. Wait, don't hurt him. Naruto calls out. I don't think we're being given a choice. Chijuro grunts, trying hard to keep hold of the swords. Jugo's flesh begins to shift around his elbow. Where previously there was a spike, it morphs into a cylindrical shape. With a blue glow of chakra between the cracks, the cylinder plunges further into his arm, sending a shockwave through his fist. Piston fist. Chijuro is blown back against the wall, crashing hard. Kiri comes out to help him up and heal his injuries. Saizo, meanwhile, takes this chance to swing. The best part about Shibuki is that you don't necessarily have to hit your opponent. When the sword gets close to hitting Jugo, who tries to block with his thick arm, Saizo activates the tags, sending an explosion right in his face. The trained swordsman knows exactly how to position himself, so he's not caught in the blast and can make the best use of it. He can even ride the blast to shift his position, which he does now to deliver another series of explosions. Jugo's arm reaches out from the smoke in an attempt to grab Saizo by the head. Gentle fist, vacuum palm. Hinata's hand reaches out from behind Saizo, over his shoulder, and sends a blast of wind pressure at Jugo, who's sent flying back. Naruto immediately rushes in to intercept him and keep him away from the rest. When it comes right down to it, Senjutsu is the best way to fight Senjutsu. Jugo swings his massive fists, while Naruto nimbly dodges, trying to land in the occasional hit. When he goes low, to thrust at Jugo's chest, the larger man sees an opening and slams his elbow in Naruto's back, who is not able to dodge in time. Naruto does manage to land a hit, but it's nowhere near as impactful because of how much pain his back is in. Hinata flickers to him, trying her gentle fist to block Jugo's chakra points. Naruto and Hinata fight side by side, dodging as much as they can. Hinata proves more than capable of keeping up with Jugo's enhanced attacks, although it's touch and go at times. She's incredibly fast and only gotten faster with time, to the point where she might outspeed Naruto if he doesn't rely on Sage Mode or Kurama. Hinata, get back. Naruto calls out. She does exactly that as Naruto jumps high in the air with a frog-like leap, trying to get Jugo's attention. Sage Art, frog call. A loud croak fills the cavern, but only Jugo is truly affected by the sudden blast of sound. The rest do hear a very irritating noise, but because it's not directed at them, they get by without suffering its effects. Jugo is stunned in place, which gives Hinata enough time to get right in his face. 8 trigrams. 64 palms. She delivers all hits with lightning-fast speed, but she meets far too much resistance. Jugo roars and swings his arm, only lightly catching her shoulder, but that's more than enough to send her flying back and crying out in pain. Her arm hangs limp. It didn't work. Naruto puts himself between Jugo and Hinata, once again engaging him in close combat. This is like the stories of the Teshin clan. She winces in pain. A body so tough, not even the gentle fist can break through it. Kiri immediately runs over and sets her shoulder back in place, placing a hand over it to heal the lingering pain as best he can given the urgency. This time, Naruto reaches into his pouch and takes out a kunai. A tri-pronged kunai that was left behind on Mount Myaboku so many years ago. He channels his chakra through it and hopes it's enough to at least slow him down. It's not. The kunai does leave marks against the tough hide, but it's almost immediately healed. This won't work. Chijuro and Saizo jump. Haramekare slams into Jugo in its hammer form and sends him flying back, where Shibuki wraps its explosives and detonates. Kill. All of you. Jugo yells. The spines on his back grow bigger and twist to point forward. The openings in them begin to glow blue. Naruto's eyes widen as he feels the natural energy gather at an immense rate. Defend. Cursed self-chakra cannons. Multiple beams of bright light shoot at them, and in random directions. He's lashing out in anger at this point. The rest don't really need the ability to sense natural energy to know this is not an attack they can easily survive. Sage Art, Massive Rasengan. Naruto places his signature jutsu in front of himself as a shield. Tensagen, Chakra Spears. Hinata's pale eyes turn cyan, and she immediately fires the spears made of pure chakra that form around her arms. Mist Sword Art, Bunker Blast. Saizo unleashes a series of large explosions from the sword to keep the cannon blasts from reaching him. Mist Sword Art, Heavy Stamp. Chijuro brings his twin swords together into their hammer form to try and hit the blast back. When everything dies down, the group groans in pain as they try to get back on their feet. Saizo's strategy worked well enough. He's taken a heavy hit, but dusts himself off. This isn't the time for a rest. Chijuro's hands are shaking, but he's keeping his composure. Naruto and Hinata are the most well-off, as is Kiri, who was protected by Hinata with their special abilities but were pushed back as well. Having already activated her Tensagen, she prepares her chakra spears for another throw. My gentle fist couldn't pierce his hide, but the Tensagen might. I just don't know how it will affect his unstable chakra. It may end up killing him. She looks to Naruto. Saizo growls. Do it. We can't do that. Naruto protests. He's just not himself, he doesn't deserve to be put down like this. As much as I'd like to agree with you, Naruto, I don't see a lot of options. Either we end him, or he ends us. Our only real chance is to drain his chakra, and if even the Byakugan can't do it, I don't see what else could. I think I do. Cover me. Naruto bites his thumb and smears it across his palm. He slams his hands together and begins weaving chakra. This'll take a bit. Jugo comes flying at them with a gleeful cackle. Not asking for much, are you? Saizo runs over to intercept him with an explosion, while Chijuro comes from the other side, keeping Jugo occupied with both blades. Dual wielding might weaken their overall effectiveness, but right now they just need to stall. Kiri stands behind Naruto and focuses his healing on him to bring him back to as good a shape as he can. You focus on your jutsu, I'll take care of your injuries. Thanks. Hinata joins the fray with a mixture of hit and run tactics and using her Hyuga arts to strike at him from afar, although she's deactivated her Tensagen before its effects cause her eyes pain. Jugo brings his arms together, crossing them over his chest, and the flesh begins to shift again. His forearms take the form of a tower shield. He swings his arms in a wide sweeping motion to try and get some distance between himself and his three attackers. Jugo moves past, going right for Naruto. As if? Saizo roars, unleashes the largest explosion yet. The blast covers a large and sends both Jugo and Saizo flying back. The swordsman might be trained in using it, but his opponent didn't give him enough time to properly position himself for it. He had to act quickly to keep Jugo from getting to Naruto. Hurry it up, kid. The wild man slams his fist in the ground in anger and propels himself forward with chakra. Naruto. Hinata calls out. Just before he can reach, Naruto slams his hands on the ground. Ninja art, summoning. In a puff of smoke, both Naruto and Jugo are hidden from view. A moment of silence takes over the cavern that had just been a cacophony of yells and grunts. Jugo is sent flying back, crashing onto the ground. His form is disturbed. The additions to his body are not as prevalent now, having shrunk in size. Jugo holds his chest in pain, where a single circular indent is present, his rough hide pierced by something. Honestly, boy, what have you gotten yourself into this time? An elderly voice sighs. Sorry, Pa. I'll need your help again. Naruto gives an embarrassed laugh. The dust clears, revealing Fukasaku standing on Naruto's shoulder, clutching a small staff in one hand. Yeah, I already figured that out. Fukasaku winces. This natural energy so dark and twisted. Can you knock it out of him, like you did with me during training? I can't, but it'll take a few whacks. I didn't have time to put enough force into it since you summoned me right in his face. Naruto laughs nervously. Sorry about that. He then immediately brings his arm to a more than familiar hand sign. Shadow clones. 4 more Narutos appear in front of him, ready to fight. You guys stay back. Naruto calls out to the rest of his group. We'll take it from here. One clone stands behind another and places a hand on his back, connecting their chakra. The clone at the front weaves his chakra and puffs out his cheeks. Sage water, toad water pistol. He releases a violent torrent of water. Jugo brings up his arms to defend himself, flesh once more shifting into a shield. The pressure is enough to push him back with great force. Jugo once more charges his cannons, readying them for another strike as he's being hit by the torrent, but this time Naruto won't give him the time. A third clone has already gotten close. He focuses his chakra in his mouth and opens wide. Fighting tongue bind. His tongue, much thicker than before, lashes out and wraps around Yugo's legs, tripping him up and causing him to land on his back, disrupting his gathering of natural energy. The original Naruto and the final clone leap over the fallen Jugo and begin croaking. Sage art, frog call. This stuns him in place just long enough for Fukasaku to dive in and hit him with the staff enough times for his modified body to shrink. His rough brown hide turns to a much softer pink with each strike, his human features eventually returning back to normal. Jugo falls unconscious. Maybe it's the overuse of natural energy. Maybe it's the getting continuously whacked part. Everyone breathes a sigh of relief and falls to the ground from exhaustion. You could have led with that, kid. Saizo stills keeps Shibuki at the ready. Just in case. Naruto laughs. I'll keep it in mind next time. Fukasaku stands on Jugo's chest, patting the man gently. Poor lad. To have been under such an influence, Hinata walks over to Naruto to make sure he's alright. So what do we do with him? She looks over the passed out man on the ground. I'm not really sure. We could take him with us for now? On the ship? Chijiro walks over, as well. Is that wise? What else could we do with him? We can't just leave him here, and he needs help. As if we have anywhere to keep him safely. Saizo asks. But we at least now know he can be contained, if necessary. Chijiro looks at the toad. Excuse me, Mr. Fukasaku, sage of Mount Myaboku. The elder toad answers the unasked question. Myaboku? That legendary place. I guess it's no surprise you took him down so easily, then. Easy it was not, boy. Doing that took over 100 years of training. Fukasaku taps his staff on the ground. Do you need me for anything else, Naruto? Actually, I was kinda hoping you might stick around a bit. Just in case Jugo acts up again. Fukasaku sighs. Very well, I suppose I could. Just make it quick, Ma's preparing rhino beetle and centipede stew. Naruto gulps. Yummy, still, I must say, Naruto, you were right about us being lucky with the guys from before. If they could do even a fraction of the stuff Jugo could, Chijiro yelps as Kiri comes over to heal his wounds. So just to make it clear, we're actually taking this monster with us? Saizo asks. Yes. Look, I know he didn't make the best first impression, but from what I've seen of him, he's not usually like this. He just can't control his power. You mentioned it's sage power, right? Like the thing you were using. How are you even so different? Well, I dunno how to explain it. Naruto crosses his arms and thinks. Think of like harvesting, right? When I harvest, I carefully pluck out the produce to not damage it. Those guys back there were just violently ripping everything out. But Jugo, Fukasaku laughs. Using that analogy, this lad isn't even harvesting, he's being buried beneath the soil. Dunno if I was gonna go there, but that works too. He had all that power piled on him, and he couldn't keep it in check. And we're supposed to trust he won't go berserk again? Naruto Hinata's voices comes out quietly. As much as I want to help, I can't help but think about the kids. If a fight breaks out on the ship, there's little we can do. Naruto gently places his hands on her shoulders. I know it's not the safest, but if something happens this time, we can be there before it begins to stop it. We just gotta help him stay calm, so he doesn't take in too much natural energy. I can keep watch on that, at least. But without Elder Fukasaku, do we even have the ability to? Fukasaku groans. You're planning on bringing this one on a ship with the kids? He face palms. Alright, fine, I'll stick around, as long as I can. Make sure he doesn't act up anymore. For the little ones. Thanks, Pa. With that decided, the group with an additional hidden mist shinobi, a toad, and an unconscious giant of a man head back to the ship. Jugo POV. Jugo stirs awake. Before he fully comes to his senses, he notices a rocking sensation. He's swaying to and fro for some reason. He blinks and opens his eyes to find himself lying on a cot inside, what appears to be a cell, or better put a cage. His eyes widen in shock, remembering only that he was previously safely in a cave, away from anyone he could harm. He grabs the bars of the cage and looks around in a panic for anyone around, but sees no one. No, no, please tell me I didn't do something. He presses his head against the cage. I was alone, there was no one I could have hurt. Good morning, boy. The voice catches his attention. He looks around again. No one's here. Down here. Jugo follows the voice's origin, only to see a toad. Fukasaku waves. Where am I? Jugo racks his brains to try and remember, but comes up with nothing. You're safe, don't worry. No, you don't understand. You're not safe. His breathing intensifies, worry coming over him again. He rattles the cage. I have to get out of here. I have to get away from you. Another voice joins the conversation, accompanied by the creaking of stairs. You're not a danger to anyone here. Naruto walks over by Fukasaku's side. He turns to the small toad. I sensed a shift in natural energy when he woke up. Ha! Impressive. Fukasaku looks proud. You're Naruto Uzumaki, right? You're Sasuke's friend. What happened to me, why am I here? You mean you don't remember? Naruto scratches his head. I guess it's no surprise, you were really hyped up on natural energy. Honestly, we kinda just randomly found you. We fought and managed to knock you back to normal and bring you back here. You mean you managed to stop me? Revert my transformation. Jugo is still processing the information. Well, I did that. Fukasaku raises his staff. But it was like a team effort, you know? Naruto adds. What will happen to me now? The wildling lowers his head. For now, we have a little trip to take to the hidden whirlpool village, but after that. How tired are you of running? Jugo lets out a light laugh. The entire reason I went to Orochimaru is because I was tired of running away. I needed some way to keep my other self in check. Then how about you go to the hidden leaf village? I suppose the leaf might have a prison that could hold me. He sounds resolved to his fate. Not as a prisoner. As a citizen. We have people who might be able to help you, keep you in check, and maybe even help you control yourself. I'm not as good at the sage arts as Pa or Ma, but I can show you the ropes. Teach you to reel it in. That's not possible, I've tried. Jugo is uncertain. It almost sounds too good to be true. And yet, looking at him, why do I want to agree right away? Kimi Mero, I thought Sasuke was a lot like him, but maybe I was wrong. He takes a moment to collect his thoughts, his emotions, his memories of everything he's been through. His breath becomes shallow, his eyes wet. Droplets fall to the ground inside his cage. Please help me. Naruto smiles. Of course. End of chapter 36. Chapter 37. Hidden Mist Recovery. Part 4. Jugo breathes in the salty sea air. He closes his eyes and lets the breeze blow over his face and through his hair. This is nice. For the first time in a while, I'm not afraid of being around anyone. Besides him, Naruto and Hinata keep him company as he gets used to his newfound freedom and sanity. Odd thing, I kinda get where you're coming from. Naruto pats him on the back. It won't be an easy path, but it's worth overcoming your monstrous side. A booming voice echoes within his side. I feel like that was a jab at me. In his mind space, Naruto chuckles and looks back to Kurama. Sorry. Not even Orochimaru could keep it under control. I worry that it's simply not possible. Jugo looks down. It's possible Orochimaru didn't want you to keep it under control. If he was using your power to create the curse marks, that's a major power-up for his subordinates. Hinata smiles reassuringly. But now you're among people who truly wish to help you. Yeah. Maybe you're right. Jugo smiles back. Just hold on a bit more, alright? When we get back to the hidden mist, I'll talk to the Mizukage about setting you free. Then Pa can look into your condition, whatever it is. I'm afraid I'm not entirely sure myself. I know my clan could innately channel these special powers and were wiped out for it. Can't really blame people for being afraid of us. Fear clouds the mind. It drives one to act in a certain way, not considering the possibilities. The wind blows Hinata long locks behind. Had we allowed that to happen to us, we wouldn't have come to rely on Elder Fukasaku's aid. And I'm very thankful for that. Naruto turns around and lightly bumps his fist against Jugo's shoulder. No need. You get used to the fresh air, I'll go check up on the rest. Meanwhile. So who's the new guy again? Katori leans in to whisper to the boys, observing Jugo from afar. Sensei said he's a friend that needs help. Yakimaru plays with the end of his sleeves. But the other new person doesn't seem to like him. Yeah, but that guy's scary. Shoto crosses his arms. He's got sharp teeth. Chijuro does too. Katori cocks her head. But he has a goofy face, so they're not as scary. Yakimaru chuckles. I didn't think you'd be scared. I'm not scared. I just said he's scary. You can think things are scary without being scared. Shoto protests. Sure. Katori smirks. Yes. Shoto scowls. Katori jumps to her feet, scared. We weren't talking about you, Mr. Saizo. Shoto violently whips his head around to where Katori was looking, already half positioned to make a run for it. There's no one there. Katori begins laughing. That wasn't nice, Katori. Yakimaru is more worried about Shoto's reacting than he is of the swordsman. Shoto fumes and gets right in Katori's face. Don't you brats have anything better to do? Saizo's voice startles them. They freeze in place. Didn't you have, like, training or something? They turn around to see Saizo lying on the railing of the ship, looking over the side. Since when has he been there? Shoto gulps. Saizo turns his head and looks at them with cold eyes. Well? Yes, sir. They begin speed walking toward the center of the ship just as Naruto finishes his conversation with Jugo and bumps into them. Hey, guys. He greets the kids. Let's train. Yeah, training. Now. Okay? He raises a brow and looks back to where they came from, eyes meeting with Saizo who just shrugs. Well, we kinda had to interrupt your competition cause of our pit stop. Well, we kinda decided to finish that on our own. Katori says with a nervous smile. Oh? And who won? Naruto looks between the three of them. Yakimaru raises his hand. I see. He grins and ruffles the boy's hair. And what did you all gather from that? Katori smiles. That's what the game was for, right? Learn from each other. Naruto laughs. Didn't think you'd figure it out. She puffs out her chest. Of course I did. Well, I did most of the figuring, you just finished my sentences. Shoto side-eyes her. No, I let you start mine. That doesn't even. Shoto shakes his head. Whatever. He turns to Yakimaru. Yakimaru took his time to study our movements, while Katori and I relied on barrages. He waited for the opportune time when our chakra control wavered. But you guys took action and went for it. Taking small losses for a big win. Yakimaru rubs the back of his head. Main reason I won is because I took so long with my turns, so we had less time to do it, so you didn't have as many opportunities to score. Yeah, but that's the game too, right? Part of the strategy is using your time wisely and slowing down your enemies. Like in a real battle. Katori chimes in. That's not something I thought of, but sure. Naruto still nods sagely. The next part will be using jutsu while climbing, so better get ready. That may have to wait. Awaji walks over behind Naruto. We've nearly arrived. Whirlpools. The watchman shouts to the crew who gets into position. The land and the hidden village do not get their name from nothing. The landmass is entirely surrounded by violent maelstroms that swallow any ship that dares think itself brave enough to venture this far. It would take a crew of the highest caliber to navigate through the aquatic minefield that they're approaching, and while the present crew is good, they would not make it. That's where the Uzumaki clan enter the picture. Captain. Awaji calls out. Get us as close as you can without killing us. Will do. Sure hope you know what you're doing. The crew make their preparations to go further in, where no sane person goes. They navigate as best they can to position themselves toward an opening between two whirlpools, but when they get close, they can already feel the current drag them in. Naruto, I would ask that you share your chakra with me. What I am about to perform may be a bit beyond my years. Of course. Naruto places a hand on the older man's back, channeling his chakra into his elder. Awaji focuses his chakra, powered by Naruto's, and weaves the hand signs he's not woven in decades. Secret water style, calm storm. A ripple spreads from the ship in all directions, followed shortly by another. The waves, despite being much lighter and calmer than the raging whirlpools, overpowers them and lessens the effect of their pull. As another pulse goes out from underneath Awaji, the whirlpools begin to gradually slow their speed until several moments later, and several more pulses later, they come to a stop. The water lies still, as if there was never any whirlpool nearby, and the ship passes safely. Once they get to the other side, Awaji releases the jutsu and the whirlpools return. Wow. Naruto looks back at the raging waters. I didn't know something like that existed. It is how we kept our land safe from intruders until it was apparently no longer enough. Awaji pants as he sits on the ground. I don't remember it being this exhausting, however. You rest up for now, Gramps. Naruto goes to regroup with the others and make sure everything is in order for their docking and journey into the abandoned land. From afar, it resembles any ordinary island in the region. Lush green trees line the entire landmass, with the shores lined with large cliffs, save for the few beaches suited for docking. Soon, they will arrive in the hidden whirlpool village. Somewhere within the island, past the lush trees, past rivers and lakes, a group of three lies in wait. They all bear featureless clothes dark blue to black shinobi wear, a standard protective vest that belongs to no village, their faces protected by fearsome oni masks. Three of them, only distinguishing trait being their red hair, stand guard with a chameleon on their shoulders, while the fourth member of the team sits down on the ground and opens an empty scroll in front of himself. They're currently amidst the ruins of a once powerful and respected village. Where once tall and wide brick buildings once stood, they now lie destroyed. Most walls and roofs have long been blown away, revealing metal pipes that act as a support structure. There's nary a few meters of even ground, as most every inch is covered in rubble in some fort or another. The few buildings that do remain upright have long since lost their luster, their paint peeled off and their windows shattered. They're only a vague reminder of what once was a proud nation. Takeshi Takage writes in the scroll. Naruto Uzumaki and Awaji Uzumaki have arrived. We don't have time to look anymore. After several moments, writing appears on its own. Then likely Hinata Hyuga will be with them, as well. Stay as close as you can, while staying out of her Byakugan's range. Not even you can hide from that. And if they do actually find something? Take it, by any means necessary. If there's even a single piece of paper that would be useful to them, we need to get it. Understood. Takeshi rolls up the scrolls and straightens himself, returning his scroll and writing implements back to their respective pouches. We have our orders. Fall back and observe for now. What could they possibly find that we couldn't? One of the redheads says in an almost mocking tone. One of them doesn't possess a fraction of Lord Kaitamaru's knowledge, and the other one hasn't even the faintest idea about his heritage. If we couldn't find anything left behind, they won't either. Takeshi sighs. The faith you have in his abilities is wonderful, but remember that your precious Lord Kaitamaru didn't get to where he is by underestimating his opponents. I should know, I was there to see him get to where he is. He turns back and walks past them. Takeshi Takage is not a man to show off. He's more of a go-with-the-flow person. As a spy and member of the Anbu, being in the spotlight was never his desire, but something made him want to put on a show. He makes it a point to stop by the one who questioned Naruto and Awaji's abilities shoulder to shoulder, turning to look him in the face, or mask in this case. Now, will you follow his orders or question them? And flickers away. I don't like how the Uzumaki clan is beginning to act. They're almost fanatical in their confidence by this point. I sure hope you know what you're doing, Kaitamaru. The Uzumaki grunts and follows, as do the other two. Naruto POV. As the visit to the hidden whirlpool village is technically more a request than an official mission, Chijuro, Kiri, and the newly acquired team member Saizo are to stick back on the boat. Meanwhile, Naruto, Hinata, Awaji, and the kids will venture into the village and seek out, well, anything, really. Jugo is coming along with the village team, so Naruto can stop him in case he acts out again. The ship does actually manage to get further into the island via a river that connects to the wide sea around it. They travel through it for a bit, now much closer to the nature surrounding them. The kids in particular keep an eye out on the wildlife that has managed to thrive in this land with the disappearance of the people. They see a group of chimpanzees hop over from tree to tree, taking a heavy interest in the strange thing that is traveling on the river. Ah! Look! Katori points to one a bit further in the back. That one has a baby on its back. Is it the mommy? They're so cute. Yakimaru giggles, seeing the curious creatures. Saizo spins a kunai on his finger. You guys want to get a closer look? No. Katori jumps to grab his arm. He allows her to do it. He wasn't being serious to begin with. He just chuckles and walks away as Katori puffs her cheeks in frustration. Never mind that. Shoto pulls her attention to something else within the trees. They see a flock of birds fly overhead. Fairly big in size, at least for a bird, with a mostly yellow belly which they get a full view of, and blue back with a dash of green. The big contrasting point being their white face, decorated with black markings. Oh, I know that one. She quickly rummages through her pack, taking out the little book she was given all the way back in the Hidden Cloud Village. A book listing the limited information on her ancestors and their abilities. She flips through the pages containing descriptions and even depictions of various birds her clan has been known to summon. Here it is. It's a macaw. That's correct. Awaji walks over next to them. They're a very intelligent bird, we had many in the hidden whirlpool. I imagine they've taken over the island now, as have the others. He looks down to Katori and her book. Your abilities involved conjuring avians, correct? She cocks her head. Avians? Birds. Oh, yeah. The more I know about them, and the better I control my chakra, the better I do. She embarrassedly scratches her chin. So far I can only summon them young, though, so they're not as strong. Excerpt for sparrows cause they're so tiny and easier to summon. Does it actually matter what bird you summon, though? Yakimaru leans on the railing. It does, actually. Or, it will, when I get better at it. She flips through the pages. Apparently they each have a special ability. Like the ostriches super strong, and hawks and falcons are super fast. So can these macaw do anything? Shoto asks. I dunno. The book doesn't actually give much about them. Well, Awaji brushed his long graying beard, if your abilities actually involve enhancing what attributed the birds naturally possess, then the macaw can actually learn the human tongue. Perhaps with your jutsu, you can somehow empower their ability to speak. Wait, they can talk. Katori's jaw drops to the ground. That's ridiculous, birds can't talk. Shoto dismisses the very thought of it. Neither could toads until we met senseis. Yakimaru chimes in. Shoto can only let out a few grunts as he tries to come up with a retort. He can't. Well, it's something to consider. If that book doesn't tell you something, then you tell it instead. He chuckles and walks off to prepare. The river unfortunately doesn't go all the way to the hidden whirlpool. Along the way is a settlement that has also been rendered to a ruin, and the fallen buildings have blocked the river. Water still flows through it, and marine life can go between the rubble, but ships cannot pass any further in. The rest of the trip will be on foot. The team designated for village travel hops off on land and follow their guide. I hope you find something. Chijuro waves them off. Yeah, me too. Keep the ship safe. Naruto grins and gives him a thumbs up. They move into the forest. Still following the river as it leads to their destination and is an open, easily traversable space. It doesn't actually take them long. Less than an hour traveling at a good speed. There, for the first time, Naruto gets a look at the remains of his mother's home. The destroyed hidden whirlpool village stands before them, although stand might be a generous term. There are still some defensive walls that remain, but sections have been blown away and the remaining parts have been long overtaken by vines. Naruto takes a deep breath, taking in the sight, his mind going over the possibilities of how this all could have happened. Hinata takes his hand and he looks to her with a smile. At least he's not seeing all of this alone. They walk closer, passing through a ruined section of a wall as the legitimate way of entering the village, when it was still functioning, has been caved in, ironically enough. As they step foot in the village, Awaji sighs, bracing himself. I have been to this village many times before, desperate to find traces of anything I could take back with me. To my knowledge, everything has been taken. However, I am certain that we will discover something. Certain, why? Naruto asks. A select few of us had a special task given to us by Lady Mito. She asked us to research the seals of our ancestors from the ancient past, but never told us why or for what purpose. She took all that we gathered and simply told us that one day we would need it and to rely on the future. I still to this day do not know what she did with that information, except that it was given to her father, Lord Ashina, for safekeeping. He turns to Naruto with a serious expression on his face. Until recently I did not know what she meant and wondered if she truly had something in mind. But then we received news from Lord Tsuchikage. We received news that you'd gone back and spoken to Lady Mito. Yeah, from the Temple of Stone's song. But it's not like we actually found something out. Perhaps not. However, I am now certain it was through meeting with you that drove Lady Mito to seek information that will help us in the present day. Information that has been waiting for 50 years. Waiting for you, Naruto Uzumaki. Lady Mito's attempt to help us from the past. Okay, but I'm not really sure How I'm supposed to know what to even do? I'm not even familiar with my own clan's history or deeds, why me? Having activated her Byakugan and searching through their immediate area, Hinata answers. The temple is the key, isn't it, Elder Awaji? He nods in response. You were able to enter the temple when no one else could, except for Lady Mito. Yes, that part remains a mystery, still. Awaji scratches his beard. A deep voice sighs within Naruto's mind. I think I might know the answer, let me out, Naruto. Confused, Naruto forms a shadow clone. As he's done before, Kurama inhabits this one, giving it blood-red eyes and more defined facial markings. You're the nine-tailed fox, I presume? Awaji looks on with curiosity. You presume correct, boy. It looks a bit weird to hear such a deep voice come from Naruto's face. The Uzumaki chuckles. It's been long since anyone has called me boy. You said you know why, Kurama? Yeah. I'll put it simply. The one thing that connects you and Mito is that you're my Jinchuriki. That's why you were able to enter the temple. That couldn't possibly be it. Lady Mito entered the temple long before she became your Jinchuriki. I can't see how you could be the connecting point in this instance. That's right, but you're missing one crucial piece of information. I know the person who made the seals, and she was a seeress. If she peered into the distant future and saw my fate, she would know about Mito and Naruto. Hinata stops looking through the wreckage of the village and focuses her attention on the conversation. But you said this Tamamo lived several hundreds of years ago. Even if she could somehow see into the future, could she see that far ahead? Kurama shakes her head. Not on her own, no. But, after we parted ways, she apparently went and became a great beast. He takes a moment to pause, gathering his thoughts and emotions. He takes a deep breath and continues. If she was empowered by tailed beast chakra to that extent, then she may have boosted her own abilities before she ended up like that and left behind clues for my Jinchuriki. That's her way of helping from the past. So she somehow made it so that only we could enter the temple and learn the secrets? Naruto asks. Yeah. That still doesn't explain why I could enter, or the kids. Hinata mentions. Seals, by their very nature, are a set of restrictions and rules. They can be tweaked to have certain exceptions. Awaji explains. Kurama turns to his host. You saw her in the end, didn't you, Naruto? Yeah. She mentioned family. He looks at Hinata and then the kids who all seem confused from this conversation. She was sentimental like that. Anyone you consider family can also enter with you. Kurama turns and starts heading into the village. Come on, we won't get anywhere just talking. Jugo looks around nervously. I feel slightly out of place in all of this. It's all right, Jugo. Naruto reassures him. This is our deal, right? We stick together and help each other. We'll do what we gotta and leave. Jugo nods. Right. The group spends a great deal of time just looking through the wreckage, trying to find any hint of important seals that could be placed somewhere. Awaji does know the ins and outs, having already looked through every nook and cranny before, so he first takes them to the places he believes are the most likely to be the hiding place chosen by Mito and her father Ishina. Neither of them sense or see anything. There are seals placed everywhere, but have been inactive for a while. Hinata can clearly see them as many are placed in such a way to be invisible to the naked eye. Naruto even enters Sage mode just in case, while Kurama uses all of his senses to search. Even the kids help clean through the rubble, as does Jugo, who takes more of a babysitting role as this goes on. Awaji does take the time to show some places of more sentimental value. He takes Naruto to see the main town square that once hosted grand festivities and gathered people from the entire land. Banners would hang above the streets and tables of food would line them, with performers keeping the crowd entertained. He shows them his old home and also Kushina's. They stand in front of what doesn't even look like an apartment complex anymore. This part of the village is by far the most destroyed. And this is where Kushina lived in her early years. Awaji looks at the ground in contemplation before she was sent to the Hidden Leaf. Katori stands by Naruto's side. So your mom lived here, right? I guess that makes her my grandma? Yeah. Naruto purses his lips into a smile. He leans down and pats her on the head. I'm sorry you couldn't meet her. What was she like? She looks up. I don't really know either. I only met a memory of her. I grew up an orphan too, remember? Katori stiffens her shoulders. Oh. Right. Sorry. It's fine. From what I saw of her, she was strong and brave, beautiful and fierce, and wasn't afraid to fight back when she needed to. If I didn't know any better, I'd say you really were related to her. He grins. Katori smiles and rests her head on Naruto's side. Naruto takes a deep breath and turns to Awaji. You said you kept in contact with a lot of Uzumaki, right? Did my mom have any family? Awaji shakes his head. I'm afraid not. Her family perished along with the village. I see. He lowers his head, his bangs throwing a shadow over his face. Naruto, Hinata whispers his name and approaches to comfort him. Naruto whips his head up and puts on a visibly fake smile. Alright, let's check somewhere else, yeah? We don't have a lot of time. Yeah, alright. Hinata smiles back, a comforting smile. When it comes right down to it, if he needs for support, he'll ask for it. Best she can do now is be here for him. One of the last things that Awaji shows them is a place connected to Mito. Her own childhood home. The official residence of the leader of the Uzumaki clan showed no result, but they did have a separate home. And here, Hinata does see something. A seal placed underneath a seal. Different from anything else in the village, different from any seal she'd seen before, except for two other places. The Temple of Stone's Song and the Prism Keystone. This is it. She calls out, gathering everyone's attention. The same seals as the ones created by Tamamo. So Mito did leave something behind, after all. Kurama crosses his arms. Now we just need to figure out how to activate it. You mean you don't know? Naruto turns to his cohabitant. You seem really knowledgeable about things up until a certain point, huh? Look, I can't help what I can't help. It's not like I know what either Tamamo or Mito did. The fox defends himself. Actually, wait, why don't you? You can see through my seal just fine, right? Hers and yours are vastly different. Mito's seal was much more suppressing. I had no awareness outside my immediate area within the seal. But that's terrible, Naruto looks to him sympathetically. Well, it's like you said, right? Fear drives people to act in certain ways. He looks back to both Hinata and Jugo. Meanwhile, Awaji kneels down and begins carefully inspecting the seal. Please allow me to offer my apologies, Kurama. My clan took it upon ourselves to keep you at bay without considering your thoughts or even trying to. What's done is done. Not really certain what he can do, Naruto simply places a hand on the wall where the seals are hidden. And just from the visible seals glow and burn away, revealing the hidden seals underneath, which continue to glow. They form a rectangle on the wall, which becomes filled with smaller seals filling up every inch of what was just an empty space. When Naruto reluctantly touches it, his hand passes through. He quickly pulls his hand back out and looks to the rest. Awaji stares at it. That's very curious. And also insultingly easy to activate. Well, is it truly easy when only one person that we know of is capable of doing it? Awaji asks. Lady Mito must have modeled it after the seals at the temple. Now, I'll try to determine whether it's safe to. As he looks away for a moment to go through his pouch of sealing scrolls, a blur rushes past him. When he looks up, Naruto is nowhere to be seen, and everyone is staring wide-eyed at the formulae resembling a door on the wall. Did he? Kurama sighs. Well, his clone didn't disappear, so I guess it's fine. And he just walks into the wall. Awaji doesn't have time to protest before Hinata, the kids, and Jugo follow in. The old man sighs and enters last. If we get stuck in there, I'm not taking the blame. In the far distance, Takeshi and his group remain ever vigilant. They've managed to escape being sensed or seen thus far and have been keeping as best an eye as they can given the uneven terrain their targets have been moving around in. They've been patiently lying in wait until they finally see the group discover something they'd been unable to. One of the Uzumaki growls as she clenches her fist. There's no way we missed that. And yet we did. Takeshi lowers his telescope. We were right. Naruto Uzumaki is indeed different. Another Uzumaki slams his fist against a tree. He can't even begin to comprehend what it means to be an Uzumaki, what our people have had to go through just to survive. Compared to that, being a Jinchuriki is nothing. Then let's go and tell him. Takeshi stands and cracks his neck. When they leave with whatever they find inside, we attack and take it. Naruto POV. Within the ceiling space is a very simple room, if you can even call it that. It's a very small enclosure that can just fit their entire group. Inside, the walls are lined with seals, and the only thing present besides themselves is a scroll hanging on the wall. Naruto looks at the scroll and then back to Awaji. Think it's safe to just grab it? Oh, now you ask if it's safe? Kurama lightly smacks him on the head before de-summoning the shadow clone he's been inhabiting to free some room in here. Awaji sighs. I don't see why she would entrap this space if the entry wasn't. Naruto shrugs and takes the scroll off the wall. As he does, a figure begins taking shape. Translucent and only from the waist up, but the elegant form of Mito Uzumaki appears before them, hands in front of her and tucked into the sleeves of her robe. I've long since wondered as to the fate that binds you and I. The image begins speaking, taking everyone by surprise. Lady Mito, is that you? Awaji's shaking hand reaches out. However, it is likely that it does not matter. All that does matter is that we accomplish what we must. The image of Mito continues speaking, not taking in anything being said or done. It doesn't look like when dad or mom left behind a part of themselves in my seal. I was perhaps too hopeful. I spent years since our meeting trying to uncover the forgotten secrets of what you asked of. I've surmised that, if you did not know, then something must have happened to the hidden Whirlpool village and the Uzumaki clan, lest you would have sought answers from them instead. Annoyingly astute as always. Kurama growls from his mind space. In anticipation for that, I ask the ones I trust the most to gather information so that I may preserve it for you, so that hopefully it may survive whatever future awaits my people. Thanks to them, I was able to decipher some of the scroll I showed you. Mito closes her eyes. How I wish to inform them, to tell them that something may happen. However, to do so would have been to tempt fate in ways I cannot comprehend, and so I have chosen to suffer in silence. I knew beforehand of the true nature of the great beasts, a secret kept well hidden among the Uzumaki, a secret that is only passed on to a select few. The truth that they are ones who meddled too deeply with tailed beast chakra and sought power beyond their comprehension or ability to control. In the centuries since, we have perfected our craft and people came into being called Jinchuriki. Such did not exist during the days of the great beasts. Back then, we were actually free. Didn't you say what's past is past? Naruto looks back in his mind space, doing a very poor imitation of Kurama's expression and voice. Sounds like you hold some resentment. I'm allowed to comment as I see fit. Kurama huffs and turns away. I have been able to uncover some truths of the world past. The one who held these truths was Tamamo Otsutsuki, who vanquished the great beasts behind the Rashomon gates with the help of Anai Otsutsuki and Varuna Otsutsuki. The Otsutsuki clan again? Hinata looks worried. I guess they're descendants of the sage? They worked together to put an end to the terror sowed by the great beasts. Tamamo through her mastery of seals and ability to manifest her chakra and give it physical form, Varuna through his all-seeing eyes and ability to see the truth of the world, and Anai through his eyes that can channel the powers of the netherworld that lie beyond the Rashomon. They were able to combine their strengths and use their jutsu as one. Manifesting chakra, that has to be the Uzumaki clan's ability? Awaji guesses. Yeah. Naruto nods. She's the descendant of the Uzumaki clan. The all-seeing eyes, that's the Byakugan, yes? Gotta be. But eyes that can channel the power from this netherworld. Naruto grumbles. The only other eyes I know of is the Sharingan, but can it do that? The Uzumaki clan has been able to manifest our chakras since as long as we can remember. Giving them the power to crush anything that stand before them, to seal and hold in place, to drain our foes of chakra. However, the ability that Tamamo Otsutsuki speaks of is one I have never heard of prior. Adamantine chains that connect people in ways that the Yamanaka clan cannot. Chains that allow you to not only share your thoughts, but also shares your experiences, your senses, your abilities. Chains that allow you to even use a Kekkei Genkai as long as you are connected to one that can use it. I have studied long and hard, but such an ability has proven beyond my abilities. I hope it is within your reach, one whose name I do not know. That sounds unbelievable. Awaji ponders. I've never heard of such a thing either. Anai would channel the strength of the netherworld, which Tamamo would amplify his through her own abilities to open a pathway between our two realms. Then, Varuna would peer with his eyes to determine whether it is safe to do so. It is they who created the Rashomon gates and connected our worlds. Just as it is they who found the great beast's weaknesses. Nothing could escape Varuna's watchful eyes. He saw how the tailed beast's chakra coursed through the great beasts and weakened its influence enough for Tamamo and Anai to pull it into the gates and seal it away. Sounds like you'll be playing a part in this, Hinata. Naruto glances over to her. There was never any doubt. She smiles to him. Of course, all that I reveal to you are words that Tamamo Otsutsuki left behind for me to find. I can only surmise that the way to bring back the great beasts is the same method that was used to seal them. And to seal them back again, one would need the same set of abilities. Uzumaki, Hyuga, and another clan with an ability I do not know of, assuming of course they are a clan. About what we guessed, yeah. I leave you with the scroll, with much of its information deciphered. Read it for yourself. See what you can uncover with your own eyes. Safe journeys, friend. I wish you luck. With that, Mito's form disappeared, and the room remains quiet for a few moments. Yakimeru, oddly enough, is the first to break the silence. I don't think I got most of that. Naruto chuckles. You and me both, buddy. He ruffles the boy's hair. But now we can fight those big monsters, we know where to start and what we need to do. We can work our way from here. We should head back right away. We cannot delay any further with such crucial information. Awaji turns to leave the room, and everyone follows behind him. Outside begins making their way out of the district they were in, with the intention of going back to the ship and returning to the hidden mist. However, someone has other plans. The group had all but relaxed after learning everything they just learned and are still processing all that information, piecing everything together. It's mostly for that reason that the enemy was able to get as close they did. Adamantine attacking chain. Chakra, taking the form of chains, rushes at them with violent speed while they're distracted. Just barely, Naruto's reflexes allow him to see them mere centimeters away from them and manages to face his palm in that direction. Massive Rasengan. The chains clash against a spiraling chakra, and neither manages to truly overpower the other. The force behind the two jutsu causes a shockwave that blasts back Naruto and his group. Jugo, who was closest to the kids, shifts his flesh to enlarge his arm and create a shield for them, at the cost of not having time to form a shield for himself. He hits the ground hard, as does Awaji, who was not able to brace himself. Hinata manages to skid to her feet, but her back ends up hitting a wall. Naruto took the brunt of it and was blown a bit further back. Before the dust settles, their group manages to quickly get back to their feet and regroup. They then see their assailant, their basic gear and oni masks not really giving away any particular allegiance, but the jutsu they used for their surprise attack. All three of them have spectral-looking chains apparating from their biceps and wrapping around their arm, reaching all the way to the ground. That, Awaji gathers his breath. That was the Uzumaki clan's adamantine chains. Why would you attack us? We are Uzumaki. The man at front chuckles. No, you're really not. He slams the chains on the ground and sends them to attack once more, but this time Awaji is prepared. Adamantine sealing chains. His chains surround his group to form a protective dome that shields them from the attacking chains of their opponent, but the more passive chains do seem to give in as they're struck. Jugo activates as much of his abilities as is safe for him, while Hinata activates her Byakugan. While she expected to only prepare for the upcoming bout against these three, she actually sees a fourth presence right next to Awaji, reaching for the scroll that's within his pocket. In a hurry, she darts off to the invisible man, channeling her chakra in her hands. It flares with the roar of a lion, and she goes on the offensive. Gentle step, twin lion fists. The invisible man dodges out of the way before he can accomplish his task and drops his jutsu. Hiding is no longer an option. He moves to the other side of Naruto's ground, where Awaji's chains do not guard. Takeshi clicks his tongue. I took too long. Who are you guys? Naruto demands. Why are you attacking? It doesn't really benefit us whether you know the answers to those questions. Takeshi forms a series of hand signs and slams his hand on the ground. Just know that you're in our way. Ninja art, summoning, Rashomon. A giant gate appears behind him. A familiar terrifying visage stares back at them as the massive chains that hang from its rafters fill the dead village. Awaji's eyes widen. No, so, it's you guys. Naruto grits his teeth and makes a dash for Takeshi. Uzumaki clan's seal, release. The gates open and send a chilling, howling wind to blow into the village. Into the realm of the living. Naruto's run is halted by the force of it, but also the feeling of dread that overcomes him. Maybe it's just the presence that the Rashomon give out, or maybe it's the creature that comes out of the gates. The first thing that's seen by those on the outside of the gate is a large pincer that grabs the gate and pulls itself out. A beak then pokes out and gives a terrifying screech, and while it does have a long straight beak, its face is anything but bird-like. With another pincer it pulls itself completely out of the gate. Its serpentine body slithers out, but instead of crawling on the ground, it flies through the air. It hisses and stares at Naruto. Great beast, Amakiri. End of chapter 37.